Hello, and welcome to Jarviskjir Mind Over Matter. It's session 7 of chapter 3, which I don't know how many sessions that is all added up. Someone should do the math for me. I don't. I'm also very red? No one told me I'm this red! I'm extremely red compared to you guys. Or you guys should get more red, I think is also the other option. Look, I don't think Ian and Zoe can increase their redness. No, I'll fix it. I'll fix me. I'll change myself for you. Okay?
Don't worry, I've got it. I can see, like I can.
That's redder, yeah.
Oh, I'm white now.
It's a ghost.
Woo!
It's almost like pure.
That's better.
There we go. Better.
Hello. Of course, it's been a little while since the last session. So we're ready to get into the meat and potatoes of it. Of course, if you're watching this on the VODs, catching up through a lot of the series, you get to miss the horrendously long hiatuses we take. Go you, I guess. Yeah, last session. Well, you've been trapped in the Shadow Realm for a little bit now. It's...
Didn't believe in the heart of the cards.
Yeah, I could see that you wanted to make that joke, and I gave you time. I know that's the downside of using the terminology Shadow Realm. It's like the word dank, it has been ruined, even though it's so much more useful than anything else. But I'm going to use both terms interchangeably. So you've been stacking the dank for a little while now. You, in searching for more information about the realm and what's going on, and also a way out, you went into an old observatory that was researching animals and encountered an wolf. One of the animals, a wolf wyvern, a terrible, massive creature with a terrifying roar that you had to fight tooth and claw. But eventually you did defeat it. And...
I forgot about that. That was really good.
Good.
Well, it was kind of like why Ashal may now be possessed.
Yes, it was an extremely close fight.
You got thrilled.
And exactly, on as Ian said, Ashal may be possessed because Ashal consumed one of their soul gems, which contained the succubus from Abunar, which does appear to have possessed Ashal, and is now perhaps co-inhabiting their body. And that's pretty much where we left off, if you remember correctly. The wolf woman had flown outside the observatory and was trying to like get back in when Free Smolder shot it through the head, and the wolf woman is now dead on the floor outside the observatory, leaving the three of you still in the observatory as that thing lies dead on the ground outside. And that's where we start today's session. There is signage that Ashal is horribly different, for Ashal spent some of that fight laughing. Ashal spent some of that fight laughing on the ground like a mad woman, as the case may be.
We should return to our base of operations. I don't know if the Long Shadows are attracted by sound, but none of us came out of that fight particularly healthily. We need to... We can't afford any risks at the moment.
Agreed.
Is there anything to like pick up from this room if I look around, especially like on the body of the wyvern?
Wyvern is outside, so that's an entirely different check you'll have to do later. Okay. In the room, you can give me an investigation check. It's mostly nerd tools.
Ah, nerds.
Yeah.
Stinky nerds.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty good. Where are my dice? Excuse me. Where are my dice? Oh, they're under the pretzels. Okay. As they should be. You are going to find 55 platinum pieces laid around, occasionally being used in tools around here. Little tiny platinum discs.
Nice. Should I not put it in the platinum part?
I'm putting that in gold just to make it simpler.
Sure. You might want to remember that you have platinum, though, in case it ever comes up.
Okie dokie.
Fair enough. I think we can put it in that.
35.
55.
55.
Okay. I will remind you that your safe hideout is the floor below this one. So if you're worried about things attracted to noise, you better hope the doors of the forge are hearty enough to stop it. They are hearty, but are they that hearty? I don't know.
That's a valid point.
Probably should glance out the window because the telescope's been destroyed, but like maybe I can see if anything is swiftly approaching.
Give me a perception check.
Oshun just puts a foot up on the busted telescope, looks out.
The issue with this being the Shadow Realm is that the majority of what you see is darkness. For light does not travel very far. All you see are things directly illuminated. Which means you can see the silhouette of the castle being lit by these embers in the sky. But you can't actually see the courtyard of the castle that you're in front of, because nothing's illuminating it directly.
On second thought, Free Smolder, are the forges like the one we've been based in? Is there a network of them?
Is there?
There's multiple, but I wouldn't necessarily say there's a network. I guess like things like coal would probably be connected through a chute system.
The forges themselves, I am afraid not. But I doubt we could make our way through the transportation chutes. Too small.
Oshun too bodacious.
Shame. It would. We need to get out of here at least. We need to strike out in a direction.
Agreed.
What would be from where we are, where would I think knowing this city would be? Because I'm trying to remember how it was described last time. The Long Shadows basically sat over the nearest sort of way up towards the castle.
Yeah.
And the other way was like way around town, wasn't it?
If there is another way. Your people don't exactly make second entrances unless there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
So, and you don't really know where would be safe because nowhere is safe because of the Long Shadows. Your forge was just a good place that you knew and was relatively safe, although even then there's a Long Shadow outside it. You would know that the Long Shadows are largely attracted to life, not death. You just killed something. If you linger outside, that's something. But one thing that was very valuable, and people did, is if you push someone to like in a direction, everyone else goes the other way. Yeah, the Long Shadow will usually chase that other person if they're attracted. They're like sharks in movies. I don't think real sharks do that, but they don't really.
They go for the straggler.
They go for the straggler. So if you're worried about being tracked by a Long Shadow, give it something else. The noise complaint, you're probably more wanting to worry about other creatures, but yeah, if you're worried about the Long Shadow, which is very close, it's probably only 100 feet or so from where you are right now.
How quickly
something
do
at
they
it.
tend to move?
Instantaneously, largely. That's mainly their threat. They move like a glitchy VHS horror monster.
So I have two things. I have animate death, and I also have feign death. So we could reanimate the body of the wyvern, or we could all pretend to be dead.
You might want to check the rules of the spell, whether it lets you reanimate a dragon of that power.
I think it's
Almost
some of
definitely no. But doing a Shaun of the
choose
Dead.
a pile of bones or a corpse.
Yeah, but it's medium or small.
and it brings
If
to
we
base
chop
respect.
off
That's all.
parts of it, surely
That's
it will be-
advanced necromancy knowledge you don't have.
Okay.
Um,
Well, then there's feign death.
And you destroyed all the bodies nearby in your ritual last week. Yeah, that's the face of shame.
Okay. Who wants to pretend to be dead?
Can you cast false
Okay.
life on other people?
Damn it! False? No, not
Feign
false life. Feign death.
I do not want to pretend to be dead when there are creatures nearby that can kill you.
But if they're attracted to life, then we just go out for a few moments, and then hopefully they will have dispersed.
Second question: Can someone move when they feign death?
I think the further
I'm pretty sure you are just a corpse until
Yeah.
it's dispelled.
It's
Yeah.
literally
It-
like
it-
someone is incapacitated.
Yes.
So you
So
literally
you could do it to one person and throw them in the courtyard. I don't know what that would do for you.
It's to all damage except psychic damage.
Well, it's more that it would
make us.
Hmm.
You'd have to go tap free
And then
smolder,
shoot
tap
myself
yourself,
in the head, yes.
And then
you're
you
gonna
would
be down
lay
for an
here
hour.
for an
Yeah.
hour
Yes.
and nothing would happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna move.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's a-
yes, you could buy an hour if you have that many
Um,
spell slots.
Yeah.
Free Small is gonna take a look out the window, like the same
Keep
direction
writing
the
about
telescope was
spell, though.
pointing that we saw.
Yeah, it's a good.
That thingy, the wolf river was coming from. I'm gonna look if I can see anything else that's alive out there.
Give me a perception check.
Perception.
Yeah, Feign Death could be useful against long shadows, but not to get past one. And you don't know if one is chasing you down, so I don't know if you want to take that gamble of let's all pass out for an hour.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, the telescope is broken. Its mechanics are busted just enough to make it too difficult to see beyond where the wolf weapon came from.
Would. Oh, I don't have any preparation points left. Shit.
You could spend an hour to make one.
Yeah, but that's an hour. No.
Make this clear. At this point, are we trying to get past that long shadow, or just?
I would
because...
say so. Or at least find a way to move it.
Oh, okay. I think I
You are
understand.
likely safer moving on than staying still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then let's
Either
do
we
that.
need to get past it or we need to get it to move. And it's not going to move unless it has a reason to.
Yeah.
So either one of us needs to be bait or we need to find something else to act as bait or we need to find a way to get past it. I don't think time's on our side.
No, that's the problem.
Seeing as I've dealt with long shadows before, do I know how to get one to lose you if it's chasing you?
Yeah, you throw a living thing the other way.
Okay, seeing a living thing.
So you need... it was literally a situation where people were throwing lower caste members of the city
Yeah.
in other directions to get away. It usually didn't work out when there was such big clumps of people. I imagine other people like you that were hunters would throw, large beetles or something you could keep on you and throw in the other direction. But, since traveling through realms, any resources of that way have been spent that you currently have.
Okay.
And there's nothing living in this chamber. It's all mechanics.
Our best bet might be to find something alive to use as a sacrifice.
Why are you looking at me?
Do you have a jar of some unspeakable horror you can huck?
It depends on how exactly these beings operate. I have one remaining brain ration. I do not know if that would register as living to a long shadow. I do not know if the soul gems I carry would register as living.
Soul gem? Crack it, huck it like a grenade.
Could I take a guess if either of those would work?
The brain ration might work like a grenade and lure it the other way. Though it being a small life form, will it choose the small thing over the big thing? You don't really know. A shawl.
Well, goodbye, baby.
You will. A shawl will say, in a woman's voice, I wouldn't necessarily recommend messing even more with the soul gems. You've already made quite one mistake today.
Well, that's
That
what
is
the
concerning.
passenger thinks.
What?
Let's deal with that once we are safe, please.
Yes,
What?
let's not dwell on it now, beautiful. We'll work something out later.
There are so many things. So many things. So many questions. They all make me uncomfortable.
This
When,
is quite the situation.
When the passenger speaks through Ashal's eyes do fill with hellfire.
Oh,
For a
shit!
moment. Not like a lot, but just enough.
Oshun just starts
And the arm.
beating them in the face to bash out the fire.
Begone, Satan.
Begone, Satan.
This is what playing Dungeons and Dragons does to you.
Alternatively, we could wait here for for something to literally come and investigate for noise, and then use that as a distraction.
Do you feel particularly sneaky today? Punk? Huh? Do ya?
I mean, as much as I normally do.
I fear waiting here would put us in more danger than striking out to find something alive.
You're probably right.
Onward.
So we move away for the time being and then come back once we have something to potentially use as a sacrifice.
That sounds like a plan.
So you want to leave the observatory? Which way do you want to go? Outside or inside the city?
I would say outside.
Okay. As you leave, you get to the angle where you can see the long shadow, and it's a slightly closer than it was before. This long, gangly thing, 15 foot high, with tendrils that go kind of up and around, almost like a how a jellyfish's tentacles just kind of drift. They're just kind of in the air, and then they kind of jitter and move several feet. The fact that there's only one is a mercy, because this place used to have hundreds in every courtyard. Going outside...
When you said there's a long gangly shadow, I thought that Oshi would freak out and just beat a shell, I saw something horrible!
When you're outside the city walls, you actually can hear a noise It's a grinding sound of metal on stone.
Do I recognize that sound?
Give me a history check.
History. What?
That's a good roll.
Yeah.
So from something that you've realized of just in your now being or spending time in both realms is that the Shadow Realm is far more industrialized than the Material Realm, and one of the lead causes of that are a race called the World Eaters that are essentially the shadow mirror of dwarves. There's some of them down here because you are aware that you are beneath the majority of the plane. Most of them live on the surface. The ones that have reached downwards, you know, they'll take whatever they can find and mine. And you actually know that they are very intent on collecting embers, and you use embers in the construction of your walls.
Anton! Wait, one more time.
The internet was being stinky.
Okay. The World Eaters are intent on collecting embers, and you use embers in the building of your walls. And this is not the first time you've heard us, like, the grinding sounds like it's probably just one, but they will try and just grind up your walls and get the embers out sometimes. On their own, they're not that smart.
It appears our sacrifice has come to us.
Yes. Will this be dangerous?
I'm assuming, judging by the sound, it's only the one that's around.
It sounds like just one, and it's just like saying there's one dwarf around a corner. I mean, the dwarf could be level 15, or it could be trash. It definitely has a grinding machine, which is dangerous, but, you know, surely 3 clever people can work out a way to deal with one shadow dwarf.
It may be a challenge, depending on their capabilities, but we should be able to handle it together.
Is this creature alive?
Most definitely.
I think that if I am interpreting you correctly, I would say that this is likely a person, at least of some degree.
By your standards, yes.
Ashal will look at Ocean. I think that might prove a rather insurmountable obstacle.
Once we start classifying the terms of alive, things get very tricky.
They
Let's have a
are
look at
alive.
this thing.
And by our combined reckoning, they are similar in sentience to us as a group. However, if we do not use the opportunity ahead of us, who knows how long it will be before we can find another.
Nah,
Because they
man,
will-
I've done the trolley problem. I know this is unethical.
They are scavengers of my people's history. To me, as much as they might be alive, they are not but pests. The tool is powerful in the moment. I do not wish their death because he destroys my people's history. I desire it only because it furthers our goals in the moment.
I will have to think on this. I'm not sure I can assist you actively. in this matter.
If you wish to stand aside, that is fine by me.
One question. What happens to this person once the long shadow has a hold of it?
It's pretty much like full on like soul death, isn't it? Just completely eviscerated.
You do get a chance. You and the shield head they encountered before have scars. You know, you were gripped for a bit and got away, but anyone who's like pulled into it are just gone, basically. Yeah, it's full on soul death.
If, when we hand it over to the Long Shadow, they do not escape or find some other way of surviving, then their very essence will be consumed. There will be nothing left of them, body or soul.
I can't allow that.
Can't as in will stop me, or can't as in won't help me. The distinction is important.
I think I would stop you. Because if that were you being hurled to one of those creatures, I would... It's in my nature to fight just as hard. At least against an unnatural death.
And yet the lot of you had no issue slaying me and my companions. Therefore, I find this continued argument most confusing. You want inside the castle, yet you refuse direly to take the one opportunity that the fates seem to have granted you. Would you rather walk into that thing that even I know not of and suffer soul death? I can assure you that having your essence closed within nothing at all is entirely unpleasant, my lady. You should rather have this one consume your mind.
Why are you a sus?
Bystander in through no fault of your own, you were actively working to sow chaos in the realms. But I must agree somewhat with Ocean. I am not comfortable with... A scavenger is what I was. I am not comfortable with throwing one weaker than ourselves to their deaths. If we had found a large animal or something, that is not beyond me, but I do not want to become that which I hate.
You just hear a...
Sassy woman.
There's just a tut from the succubus inside of Charles' head.
That is just what she is like.
That's just who I am, Ocean.
That's who I am now, Ocean.
I find your world's version of morality confusing, but as I require your aid, as you require mine, I must acquiesce to your decision.
I appreciate it.
I am not sure this is anything so grand as morality on my part.
And I
Simply
definitely
emotion.
wouldn't say that people in our realm are of a mind with me.
No.
It is simply a gift of Lady Ivrith and my ascension.
Which leaves us with two options. We either attempt to find something non-sentient and hope that the Long Shadow will chase that, or we take our chances of slipping past it and outrunning it.
We will not outrun it. We require a distraction.
Right.
At this point, there is the sound of crumbling stone, and you can just barely see the World Eater kind of sloughing away, sort of vaguely past you. It's a silhouette of a dwarf. The beard is much longer and much scragglier, with kind of spines and spikes coming out of it, and it's almost like a caricature of a dwarf, because you can't see any eyes, you just see like nose and beard and hair and heavy gear, and they're dragging like a net full of stone chunks behind them, which is glowing just enough. So they're going on their way.
Do you think he has anything on him? An insect of any kind?
I do not believe that they carry such things with them. But if we were to search them, however, that would require violence.
Do you think we could redirect him to break through a wall or something to allow us an alternative passage past the shadow?
That could be possible. While I do not enjoy the idea of further damaging the city is but a corpse.
Hello?
At the sound of the strange noise, the World Eater will stop. Their body kind of slumps with the stop of movement.
Were you going to say the long shadow? I was like, shit!
No, they will kind of shift and face you slightly. They are bigger and bulkier than a dwarf, but they still would have to look up at Ocean. You still don't see eyes, just kind of dark, scraggly features.
I say, would you be able to break a wall that might allow us entry past that creature? Chum.
Oh.
Oh, shit.
And turns slowly to go the other way.
I call out in Dwarvish.
In Dwarvish, it stops and will respond in kind in Dwarven.
Oh.
I've got no issue with you. I'm taking my haul. You're not stopping me.
As much as I would like to stop you, my companions have a different idea. Would you be able to break down a wall to lead us towards the castle, past the long shadow guarding the steps?
Ashar will then join in Dwarven, because Ashar was taught Dwarven by Bogdan, and will say, our alternative plan was to throw you to the long shadow. Just so you are aware.
You want to roll me an intimidation
I
check?
much prefer.
I will roll an intimidation
Yeah.
check.
Can I assist with that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus. You try to intimidate. Oh my god.
That was worth it. The World Eater, like, they have attached, so they've got one arm that's just dragging this net around. The other arm has this big contraption connected to it. The construction style does not compare to any mechanics you would have seen on the surface. It's a jagged machine of oily, rusty metal with a big, would-be spinning digging implement on one end. That's kind of like a dome coated in teeth. It lifts it and it like ka-crum. And the World Eater will stare at you for a little bit. Again, you can maybe see the beadiest little glimmer of eye light under the heavy brow and horns and spines and shaggy hair, and it will just like, alright. Anything inside is wine.
Passage is all we require.
It will start in no particular rush, walking towards you and wherever you wish to kind of aim him.
Oh, is he helping? Are you helping? Oh, thank you.
Yes, he is.
As the World Eater goes past, every step there's like, because it's wearing just all this like heavy ring mail and mechanical stuff in his pipes and whatnot, and he's still dragging the sack. And as he passes you, he just kind of like sneezes. He doesn't cover anything. It's just like.
I suppose we'd lead him into the city and find a likely pointer that he could break through.
Give me a one. Both of you give me intelligence checks with advantage. Not Oshun. I don't think Oshun has the architecture skills. Again, need the 3.5 architecture skill. There we go. Hell yeah. I mean, being a lowborn of the Vestiges, you know the layouts of many areas of the castle, especially areas where deliveries of metal or coal have to be made, or the noble forges, because the noble highborn enjoy forging more so than the lowborn, because they do it for fun. As much fun as you can have in the Shadow Realm, at least. So you can find a place, this area of wall under like an awning that looks, you know, no different to any other, and you can point the World Eater to it and it'll be like, okay, and we'll just kind of like pull a chain and the machine will thrum to life and they'll just start grinding through the wall.
You know, Free Smolder, I was hesitant to mention this because I did not want to cause you more pain. However, as someone who is quite close in proximity to death, it did strike me, and I hope this brings you some comfort in a way, that this feels very much like the desiccation of a large body by natural organisms, breaking down the parts and hauling them away, like ants on a carcass.
I suppose you are right. The city is dead and serves no purpose other than what we make of it, just as a body. However, I would prefer it was by my people's hands and not
Yes,
theirs.
indeed. Just watching the chainsaw like, just
There's like a big, like, it almost looks like the part of the wall's gonna fall on him, but he just doesn't move and is fine. Speaking of, you do have a little bit of time to butcher the wolf wyvern if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Don't know if you would potentially want to. I don't know.
Okay, well, if Oshun's going, then Ashal is not letting Oshun.
Ocean's getting more interested in parts now that I've got to have parts to do spells.
Well, Ocean was always interested in parts, just parts belonging to ladies. It would be a survival check to start going up to this body and carving it.
Ashal is on the lookout while Oshun is doing this.
I thought you'd want to be up to your elbows alongside me, Ashal.
Do I look like the type to do physical labor?
No.
Although I would have been the type to be up to my elbows in something. This body will not do for such things. We will find a solution.
Oh, all right.
I'm sure Oshun would quite like you in another body.
Now I'm imagining Ashal naked. I don't like it. What's happening with you?
I have a passenger.
You said. You've distracted me from my beast carving.
Go on.
Yeah, you are so distracted imagining Ashal's wrinkly, desiccated body that anything of value of the wolf wyvern is
Immediately punctures a gallbladder and just goes.
yeah. Doesn't help that, I mean, you don't have any knowledge of how to really carve a creature apart, other than maybe some mild ritualistic things when you were a wee baby priestess is but a twinkling of a memory. So none of the useful parts are recoverable.
Ashar looks at it and goes, well, I suppose it's a good thing I got its soul at least.
Ah, yes, that is the harvesting I anticipated of you. I thought I'd get a claw or something, but alas, I'm rubbish. Shall we?
Yes. Maybe our
This-
friend has finished.
Yeah, when you walk back around the there's a nice chunky hole in the wall that goes through a few layers. You can even see when it's cracked open, little veins of ember fire in the pale wall, as if it were more a living thing, perhaps. Opens up into one of the noble forges that is clean and pristine and has these pillars that are meant for fire and for the burning and whatnot. And yeah, you are now able to travel within the castle if you so wish.
Nice.
Let us move.
Would you like to come along with us? You?
The World Eater looks at Ocean, who he cannot understand, as he is shoveling like goblets into the sack. Just big like scaled and hairy arm, just. A lot of it just spills onto the ground as well because it's a net, but
It's got holes in it, mate.
it's got holes in it.
We should leave the parasite to his work.
I believe he has his own agenda here, yes. As useful an arm as his might be in combat.
Well, bye. You.
Onwards.
Onwards.
Of course, your
Onwards.
goal is to get to the top, I believe.
We went to investigate the observatory at the equivalent of early morning, right?
Yes. Yeah. You are
So
not
it's
in need of
probably-
rest or anything yet.
Yeah, we're probably talking, this is probably like middle of the day, effectively, I would guess.
I'd say so.
While exploring what we can might be wise, I would hesitate to overreach ourselves when we are still wounded and depleted after that last scrape. Perhaps we should limit ourselves to, I don't know if we can find a library or something that we can investigate in greater
Ooh,
depth without moving much.
Yes, a library.
Then
Would
spend-
You wouldn't know where a library is. You
You
wouldn't
don't
be
know
allowed.
books.
You wouldn't be allowed to read highborn books. No.
Oh,
But
just
you
a
could do.
smut.
I'm pretty
No,
sure the
I-
vestiges don't have smut. I would.
Yeah.
You know me. I'd allow it, but that doesn't really fit. Least horny Jarviskjir race confirmed. Even the asexuals are hornier.
Hang.
Sex is just work.
Yeah.
It's scheduled and it's set.
And if you spawn a lava, it's taken away by the government.
Oh,
Set for its
so
purpose.
sad.
Yeah. But you could give me investigation check. One person can give you one with advantage to see if you can find.
Do you want me to? I've got +5.
I've got fuck.
I've got
You've got
+5
fuck?
intelligence. I don't.
+5 to fuck.
+5.
That's a pretty good modifier. Yeah. So as you step out into these hallways, it is grander, yes, but not actually necessarily larger. Because the highborn are smaller than the lowborn, but this hallway does have room for people as big as Free Smolder, because you would have walked this corridor before. You get out into some hallways where, for a moment, you see the flash of what came before. A flash of a memory of this grand hallway with these pillars and awnings and archways filled with creatures, largely vestiges, but also of other races. In particular, there is a much taller insectoid with 8 arms that is carrying around 8 little vestige lava and kind of spinning and playing. And there's music playing and drinks flowing and all of these sorts of things. And then that memory fades and reveals just an empty void of space. The only sound permeating is the slow sloughing of a thick liquid beneath the ground. In some places there is glass, and below the glass is a kind of slightly greenish ivory silver gel that travels in sloughs. It's royal jelly that travels throughout the castle. That because it's like as slow as molasses, it's still dripping around as if nothing's happened. Then occasionally you'll pass areas where it's glass and you just see it like bloop.
What?
Jelly.
Oh,
Transported through piping. This used to be a place of... Never mind. It is gone now. This place is naught but a shell.
if you'd like to tell us, we could listen.
Is that sustenance?
I'm guessing it is sustenance, right?
It's sustenance specifically, mostly for the babies. But also it's like one of those things. I guess it's like how some people have still like warm milk when they're older, partly because of nostalgia. So it's like it's fed to the babies. The amount you get decides which caste you are, and other than that, it's essentially kind of a luxury good.
Luxury jelly.
Yeah.
There will be containers, but even after all this time, I am surprised there is still some flowing.
Oh.
It makes me wonder.
Would I know where and how this stuff was made?
You would know where it goes. Not so much where it's made. But you would know where pipes would end up. You would know where there would be like a crash, where a large amount of it would end up.
What about what makes it? Because it's been like a good few years since like the city got completely fucked. But there's still a decent amount flowing.
Can give me a history check.
Come on. Oh, baby!
That's very good. Royal jelly was largely produced by a particular caste of vestiges who were essentially the matriarchs that took care of the young. But it's not usually the same ones who actually took care of the young. The ones that could actually produce this jelly excretion were locked away higher up in the castle to live a relatively pleasant life, producing jelly from their glands as long as possible to feed everyone else.
Morton Joe moment.
It is an Morton Joe moment. It is. So you do have a thought and a realization of where, and it's not so much you know where it is, but you apply logic of mathematically where these pipes have to originate from for the flow to still continue with the very slow pace. It would be quite near the top of the castle, and the kind of the direction you're going, it would be a different wing of it, different corner.
There's a moment where it looks like Free Smolder, like, it's like look for memory, and then the thinking, and then like just somewhere a gear has slipped in and everything's running.
With the amount of jelly that's flowing, it's entirely possible that the
Look, we're trying to think of the right word.
producers of it, the matriarchs, are somehow still alive. However, where that part of the castle lies would translate to a similar point in the city of your world, where I believe the center brain that we have been disabling lies. I'm wondering, is the jelly being used to sustain that brain?
Follow the jelly.
It is worth investigating, even if the hypothesis turns out to be correct, then that might serve as well in weakening the brain. If not, then perhaps there are members of your people still trapped here. And failing that, it's likely you say it's likely to be in this rough direction we need. It is likely to be a relatively safe place. One way or another, this seems advantageous to me.
Then we must go higher.
And I wouldn't want to give you any false hope, but I wonder if, as you say, this substance is fed to your young and is of nutritional value, and there may be others. Might there be the smallest chance of repopulating the city? Sustain the children, you sustain the race.
So long as the long shadows exist, there is no chance of that. But hopefully, with our work done here, we can move towards that as a goal.
Excellent. A worthy goal. To the jelly!
To the
Do
jelly.
you wanna rest first?
Oh,
In
yes!
a
Rest
sensible
to the
place.
jelly.
Okay, so you do find a kind of library-esque chamber that is kind of out of the way. It's less for books and more for molds for metalworking. But it's given the same reverence as a library would in your cultures. It does have large doors that you can bolt shut, and perhaps find either a long or short rest. I suppose it depends on you.
I'm not well. I think I could do with a long rest, reset my spells, and
I mean, it would I
have 10 hit points.
Yeah, I mean, the hit dice can be used if necessary. But I think a long rest really. It also gives me time to have a conversation with the entity in my head.
Oh.
Why would you want to do that?
Because having conversations with the entities in my head is how I go about my day-to-day life, Ollie.
That's not podcasts.
Plus, if these matriarchs are still alive,
Famous last words. No.
What did you say? I accidentally nearly crashed my computer.
If the matriarchs,
Live
if the
life on the
matriarchs
edge.
are still alive and they're still producing the jelly, then waiting a few more hours won't kill them.
This is D&D.
Don't
Any
yeah,
delay is something where something terrible could happen.
We're gonna get there, and that what's his name? Bio. Atratos is gonna be there, personally ripping the heart out of it and the brain out of the last one left.
You thunk!
If only
You
you,
were-
had gotten
you were
here
approximate-
7.5 hours earlier.
Yeah, you were approximately 8 hours late.
You can get a modicum of comfortable rest here. Anything like the long shadows is locked outside and away. So yeah, you can have a long rest. Anything you want to do during your long rest, for it is not all sleep, especially for. I mean, you guys don't really sleep. Is stuff you can do.
Before Oshun passes the fuck out, I actually think that she would like breastfeed the child, and then they could just look at each other and be like, "What? Your thing is weird. Your thing is weird."
That is true. As much as yeah.
It's all weird. It's all so weird.
Ashar would definitely sort of try and turn the telepathy inwards and see if they could have a conversation with Sarkivas.
Yes, Ian, get in communication with the sexy lady inside you.
Oh, are we well and good now for a conversation?
Well and good as we are likely to be for some time, I suspect.
This
I
is
take it you are not.
quite the predicament you got yourself in. Yes, I'm not unamused by this conversation. Exactly, Ashar. By this entire situation it's quite favourable, yeah.
Yes, I had gathered as much. I also take it that you were not pleased by your imprisonment.
No fiend would be. If we are destroyed on these planes, we return to our world. If we are trapped, then we are trapped for quite some time until the gems itself have some fault. You did make that all happen quite a bit faster, and I thank you for that, although I do find your body repugnant. Unfortunately. But it will have to do.
Shame. Shame.
Yes, for what it's worth, although it was my intent to trap you to prevent you from causing any further problems in a city that at the time I had a vested interest in, I still did not have anything against you, as I made clear in the fight.
Correct me. Is that city doing well now?
Oh, it is completely screwed, so we did your job for you. Would you be pleased to hear that? I take it that the goal I heard from your minions that you were to sow chaos in the material realm was extended to you, or originated from you, or originated
Every
from the
fiend has their purpose, granted to them before they travel to the other realms. The purpose is all but done now. Now I merely wish to survive and exist.
And that is a goal I can sympathize with, and one that I think we share. I am not an expert in such matters, but what happens to a fiend who dies in the Inuhaga? Are you aware of that?
This plane is just as material to us as the other one.
Right. Okay.
Fiends who end up here, and there's quite a lot who feel like it's a bit of fun to take a vacay in the realm of darkness. If they are shanked, they'll return to the hells. Of course, there are some who remain here and become permanently changed.
So are you hoping that I will get shanked so you can return?
Oh, no, Ashal, if you die, I am stuck in a very different soul gem. One that will be rotting around me for quite some time until the last fiber is gone, and I may be released. Or I may suffer the same death that you would. Actually, worse, for I would not be reincarnated as some schloffing fellow walker. No, I would simply cease to be. So it is of the utmost importance that at the earliest convenience that I find a new vessel. So if you die, I may live. Until then, I have a vested interest in allowing you to survive.
Keep her away
Well,
from the baby.
that is what I had hoped for, at least. Not that you are trapped in such an unpleasant situation, but at least that you have a vested interest in us both surviving this. I must admit, I am no expert in removal of a soul from a body while that body is still living, but I'm sure that is something we can investigate in.
I have my ideas based on the information provided to me by your current predicament.
That is good to know. That is good to know. Because
It would
for
do
all
me
that-
aid to collect some of the jelly if you are in that neighborhood for yourself.
That I can do. For what it's worth, you might find my body unpleasant, but quite frankly, I am glad to share knowledge with you and hopefully receive some in return. I am one for exchange of knowledge, and I wish to better myself. Though I did not wish this circumstance, one should take advantage of what they can. As I've said, I have no particular I have nothing in particular against fiends in general, nor yourself in particular.
Unpredictable situations make strange bedfellows, yes. For the time being, we work together.
Yes, quite. I shall attempt to procure some of the jelly for you then. Do just let me know if there's anything else you need.
I will.
Just inserts jelly into his ear to give to her.
It's holistic. Now, this is a great place for us
It's
to take
like
a little break.
ear candling.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That ain't right. Time for a little breaky brew, I think. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Hello, welcome back. Hello, welcome to D&D show. I couldn't run a whole show as a
Ollie's
soundboard, but I would try.
Ollie.
Well, I tried to make a coffee, and the coffee machine made it with a single bean. So I had to... So I nearly just would be like, sweet life-giving energy, and it would just be like, bleh.
One bean.
Hot, stinky water. Now it made of many bean. It good.
Oh, good.
But single bean, nah. I watched it go in. I watched the last of its kind be eradicated. Speaking of, you are here in the empty castle that we call home. The vestige city you are within. I don't know if Free Smolders really explained, but they don't really name their cities. They're just different variants of home, and there's a different word whether they're there or they're somewhere else as well. So the castle which we call home, or that we call home, is where you are, and you are deep within its highborn areas, right outside a quite large sort of entertainment space in one of the storerooms for metalworking equipment and blueprints and molds. Free Smolder has kind of got a plan of where to lead you towards potentially the matriarchs that produce the royal jelly.
Were you going to question our Charles before we do anything else?
I don't know if Ashal is going to come clean about their two-spirit identity.
You can try. If you want to.
I guess I should begin with I do think that I recognize that other voice.
Well, yes, that is likely.
Are you going to sass me, or are you going to answer my questions?
I mean, that wasn't a question, that was a statement.
All right, Ashal, how about... What the fuck?
What the fuck what?
You?
I believe it is fairly obvious. During the battle with the Wyvern, we were in a very dangerous situation, and I felt it prudent to use emergency button, I suppose you might call it.
You were going to say a fuck you button, weren't you, Ashal?
No, that never crossed my mind. So I attempted to take in the power of one of the soul gems in my possession, and, well, it worked. I was brought back from near death to fully revitalized. It does also appear to have had the side effect of effectively housing the soul of the succubus that was working for, I've forgotten his name already, the guy who was ruling Abanar. That succubus is now apparently trapped in my flesh.
Consume responsibly. Side effects may include succubus.
Mild case of possession.
Well, it's good you're alive.
I feel that it was the best decision that could have been made. It changed the diet. Without that fight could have gone a lot worse. And to be quite frank, I do not want to risk dying in this realm.
No.
And dying, because that would be far worse than dying in the material
die in
realm.
real life. I've heard it said. I'm not questioning your decision. I'm simply intrigued as to how you intend to operate with the consequences.
Well, I have had a conversation with her.
Ooh.
And for the time being, we are moving as one. It would not advantage her for me to die meaninglessly. So at some point I will hopefully be able to transfer her into a fresh vessel and let her be on her way.
All right. That sounds like a plan. It also sounds more like a punishment to her, the being that she is, to be within a vessel such as yours.
She has expressed discontent.
You are mistaken to assume that all succubi exist entirely for physical passions. We exist to tempt.
Well, maybe
Not
as
just-
well we'll get into romance novel writing.
Star's passions and interests are of no concern to me.
Oh, you kooky duo! Laugh track.
I shall at this point just momentarily go introspective again. I realise I never asked a name. I presume that Opalia Bearchest was not a name that you would normally use. It was probably a name taken for your dwarven form. Maybe I am mistaken.
You will be getting no name from me.
All right, I'll call you Sue.
I'll
That is
call
fair.
you bitch.
That is fair. It is merely a matter of convenience. I did not intend to you reveal your true name or anything, but anyway. Yes, so we continue on.
Sorry, it just seemed like you had a small seizure for a moment there. Are you sure she's not pushing space in your brain aside?
No, that was merely I had to ask her a question.
Make sure you don't do that when we're in the middle of a battle. Wouldn't want you to be vulnerable.
There is no danger of that.
Okay, yes. She definitely would want to survive and therefore not cause you to pass out in the middle of a fight.
If anything, if I were to fall, then she might be able to continue piloting my body during the battle, although I do not know how that would work. At any rate.
I just keep imagining you as a sassy lady. So strange. So angular.
The sassy lady is an entirely separate entity within this body now. I have no intent of making this one wear high heels and stockings. You can rest easy.
Shall we continue? Or did you have further questions?
There's so many questions, none of which I will ask.
Question 1. Can you get little stockings for your tentacles?
Oh.
I know how Ocean's brain works.
Yeah, fishnets.
Yeah,
Wear a
yeah.
little,
I mean, does any other stocking really count? I mean, come on.
The one with the line on the back.
Or the one with the little cat face top.
I used to have some of those. They were Sailor Moon.
As they should be. But the only moon you're sailing is the moon of death. Onwards. Now that you are
Onwards.
rested, you did get a long rest, untroubled. It seems that the actual castle, at least the area we're in right now, is empty of long shadows. Because remember, there are far fewer of them now than there were. You start traveling onwards and upwards. When you get out of this kind of entertaining space, you get into spaces that are a lot more cramped. Actually, places that are very difficult for Ocean to go through. You unironically have to start... No, you literally can't fit through the size of a small creature because you're too big. So any hallways that are made entirely for Highborn, you can't take. So you unironically have to start taking the servant corridors through the castle.
Curse this voluptuous body of mine!
Yeah, just because you purely wouldn't fit in a tiny door made for a king.
It's such a... I just love that little tiny king, like, going through a
Little
tiny
guy.
doorway.
You would
Little
actually...
guy.
You would be seeing statues and less paintings Well, there would be paintings. They just only use the colors black and white of lords of the castle and such, and they are very small looking. You know, Free Smolder is normal sized, you know, humanoid sized. These ones are tiny, and they've got much kind of larger features to compensate, and they're small and hunched and wearing their cloaks and things, and sometimes their little horns of their kind of mask-like face almost make crowns.
Hey, Free Smolder, do you like these guys? Is there any kind of class disparity amongst your people? Any broiling resentments?
They are the highborn. They are born in their position, just as I am born in mine. We serve a purpose, each of us.
Ocean puts the fire back down.
Ocean just wants to create a class riot wherever Ocean goes.
Free the proletariat!
You are, however, not going through corridors that are free of strife. Occasionally you do find corpses lashed with the kind of almost sparkling wounds that the long shadows leave. In some areas, the walls have kind of crumbled apart from outside stress. But you do see from through small windows that you are getting closer and closer to the ember field. And especially the area where the embers are being siphoned into the building. Like a great flow of like sea plankton or something just moving. Or the formation of a star. You know, some CGI bullshit like that. You get very close to your goal. For occasionally you would be able to sense long shadows, Free Smolder, but in corridors like this, if you see them, you are dead. So it's like being careful, being sensible, moving around appropriately. You get near a high point in the castle where there is, beyond this chamber will be routes to the matriarch's royal jelly production room, and also the king's chamber at the top of the castle. However, the room is not without its protections. It is quite similar to the entertaining room we saw before, but a lot more narrow. It has a similar glass floor and semi-decorated walls, including windows that kind of look out over the castle, but, you know, it's all dark. But the traps take the form of 4-foot-tall floating fleshy orbs. Each one has 6 eyes that are all in a D6 formation on its face that are looking in other directions. They just kind of aimlessly float like a whole swarm of balloons. The room is filled with them. They're often several feet apart, floating kind of in the middle. You kind of see this sight, this trapped chamber of these large, bulbous, almost like sea mine creatures, but they're living, they're organic. Although they're organic. Whether they're alive or not is another question, I suppose. As you get quite close from one of the other routes, because you took like the sort of servant routes in, you know, where you would usually bring like meals and stuff, you see another creature. It looks to be some kind of 3-legged spidery thing. It's dark and sort of stickly, and it's kind of crawling in from outside. And it crawls into the chamber and kind of flops into the room. And as it does, one of the mines, kind of its eyes, like, and it will tumble towards the creature, and it will explode in a splattering of acidic goo, leaving nothing remaining of either the creature or the mine.
Shit.
So how many of them are there in this room?
Kind of uncountable. It's a long chamber. Probably, 40 or 50.
So you describe them as having multiple eyes. Did they move towards that little creature?
Yeah, but it was only the one that was near it. They are clearly proximity based. Yeah, and if you were to simply blow all of them up with like a gunshot, you would probably blow the top off the castle as well.
I have a thought. I have an idea.
Oh no.
I have several portions of aether dust.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I was to in some way sort of blow it, scatter it around the room, if it would incapacitate these things, if like it interacts with their physiology in some way.
Many eyes, many vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Just gotta poke them all.
Question: is aether dust magnetic?
No.
Drat.
No, I'm not even going to give you that one. But this is a magical setting, and magnets it's even more expanded. So you might be able to do some kind of magical aether magnet bullshit, but no, it's not magnetic in typical sense.
Because I have magnesis, that's normally pulls towards, so it was a multi-step question.
It would have been, can I then bullshit it the other way round?
Yes, exactly.
Reverse polarity.
Don't you have spiritual arm?
No, I don't have mage hand.
How long is this corridor?
I'm doing quick math, which isn't good. Around 120 feet.
120 feet, okay. Thinking fog cloud, but I can't cast it at a high enough level to extend the distance to cover the whole hall. I can get 2/3 of the hall, but that's still 2/3 of going through those things without any cover.
That's still pretty good. That could be at least part of a plan.
Should we do some tests first to determine what exactly these things are reacting to? I'll find like a pebble from somewhere or like a small rock and throw it sort of close-ish to one of them just to see if it reacts to movement.
Yeah, one of them it's one of its eyes look but it doesn't really move. It reacted, but like non-committally.
So it's sentient enough that it reacts to things, but it's not but it's clever enough not to just go after something that isn't living. Good. Okay, good to know.
This is the only way up, isn't it? That we can all fit through.
You could maybe try climbing up the outside, now that you're almost all the way up.
I could carry you guys. Spider climb. Well, you guys.
You can carry one person. You're not strong enough to carry both.
I wasn't referring to you.
Yeah, if you broke open one of the windows, you could maybe crawl up
she
to
just
the
goes.
mobile wing.
I mean, spider climb lasts an hour, doesn't it? I think.
Lasts a while.
I mean,
Could
it will say on
theoretically
your sheet.
Oh, sorry.
They're like, oh, if only I had a way to find out. I'm like, I'm not opening my book. You have it.
I'm not sure I ever actually handled it.
Yeah, so you're not strong enough to carry both of these people at once, but Ashal might be able to worm their own way up, or you could take two routes. Of course, you don't know where you're ending up at the top, so you would need to take Free Smaller first to guide you, I guess. And then you would also first need to break open the windows. It is not as simple as simply elbowing it, for these are windows at the top of a giant insect castle, so there will be treks involved.
You're gonna see me get blinded because I'm about to open the Jarviskjir Google Doc. Let's see when it loads, just so I can look at.
I'm sorry I use light mode and hence force everyone else to suffer light mode consequences.
I just need to find. Where are we? Okay.
Every time I take like a screenshot or like Discord, people are like, light mode! And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
I was actually... You were marked down at my university if you use dark mode on your projects.
What?
So,
What?
yeah.
What?
The main... People can't... A lot of people can't read dark mode. So it's an accessibility thing. Admittedly, dark modes have gotten a lot better since then. But back then, a lot of people couldn't read dark modes.
Yeah. I think I remember it being pretty terrible back in the day.
It was bad like 10 years ago.
What's that?
I mean, there's no reason why you can't go ahead with a little bit of your experiment. As long as they don't all flood the chamber with, like...
I still think the dust is a good idea. It's just a matter of spreading it over a wide enough area to incapacitate a large number of them, if not all of them.
Does your friend have any ideas?
I imagine if she did, she would speak up.
I'll have a look at the window while we're thinking.
Is big.
It's a big window.
So the windows are actually big enough for you to crawl out of if you break the glass open. And it's usually one big plane of glass because these are industrial people that can do that with like metal banding and stuff. But it is tough. Everything here is remarkably tough. In fact, having that little world eater would have been assistant here. Would have been able to help, but
A stocky little guy.
Further thought, I wonder if one of these, if these are not intelligent. Okay, so here's my thought. I wonder how intelligent these things are. If one of them is going after something, does that automatically mean none of the others will go after something? Based on what we saw with one of them going after that thing that came in.
Yeah, but what was the size of the thing?
Small. I'm just wondering if we could somehow get one of these things on a rope and hold it away, or like on a stick and hold it away from us while it's trying to get to us.
Shield fire!
That is pretty good.
Little guy on a leash.
I'm not mad at that idea.
Hold on. I need to double check because I think this is a Jarviskjir spell, so I need to double check that. Oh no, it's a base spell. Let me check what this does. Oh, nope. Okay, that's not how that works. I was looking at rope trick.
Oh yeah, a rope trick would be good if you were stuck in the middle of them.
Yeah.
But you're not.
No, I was thinking it might be something I can like bind them with.
No. It's not a trick rope, it's a rope trick.
Yeah.
Very different. No, but literally. Literally true.
Restrained there. It's restrained there. I can't take it with me. Oof. I was gonna say snare could maybe do it, but I can't move it with me.
Do you have any way of blowing the dust around the chamber if I were to get the Aether dust out?
We could all go.
I could cast Unseen Servant. Not sure if that can do it.
I have spirit guardians, but I don't.
It's gonna blow them up if they come into contact with it, assuming they have an HP value.
I mean, they can't distribute stuff, can they?
No, it's not a.
You don't really have that much control over spirit guardians, sadly.
Yeah.
Darkness stones.
I don't have Thaumaturgy, which would have been perfect.
I have Thaumaturgy. What do you need?
Thaumaturgy should work. Because I can blow the stuff around, can it? Because it can create effects. Like basic ones, like blowing open windows and stuff.
I thought it
This
was
is a really big room.
Yeah, I suppose.
Although
I
it's
suppose,
the Shadow Realm, so I imagine if you blow something, it will linger for longer.
it's not one of the listed things in Thaumaturgy. It's one of those weird spells that has.
Thaumaturgy, yeah. The way I'd see it is Thaumaturgy is more interacting with an object. So yeah, you blow open the door, but not with wind.
Yeah, it's not. A,
Yeah, because like unlock door or window will fly open or slam shut was what I was thinking of, but unseen servant maybe, but
That's it.
what's fade doing? Let's
I'll
fade away.
give shattering the window a go.
Give me an athletics check.
Yes. My +0 athletics.
I did tell you it would be cutting open a... You elbow the window. It hurts. It doesn't even make a loud noise because it's like a big pain. It's just like a... Feel it vibrate through the bones. Yeah. Now you're the one who's going to be on the floor laughing.
Okay. Wait, I have an idea actually.
More layers.
Hold on, let me just check how this works.
Oh, she
Rises
just
up
puts
into
her
the
elbow
air.
on it like, I didn't do anything, I'm cool.
Wait a second. I'm to the top of the ropes. We got 8 medium. These. No, I can only hold 8. Ugh. I was thinking I could. If I cast it in such a way that the wall behind. If we were facing down the corridor, the wall behind us was the ground, so to say. Rope trick. I could then hold the rope out and then have them run enter the extra dimensional space, but it can only fit 8 of them, even if I could cast it like that. So
I have stone shape.
Can we move through stone with that?
If there's, I assume if I make a little opening somewhere.
okay.
Yeah.
Passage, a small passage.
It's a good shout, but
Says a Charles.
yeah.
It's a good shout.
Okay, what if, so I could cast Fog Cloud, right? Which 20-foot radius, that's 40 foot.
Mhm.
I could, if I boost it up, that gives an extra radius by 20 feet. So that's 40 feet more. So it becomes an 80-foot radius. What I could do is cast a level 2 Fog Cloud. We move through it, hopefully with enough room to sneak past these things and they can't see us. And then that last 40 foot that's left, I just cast another Fog Cloud with enough room that we could just slip straight into it while the first one dissipates.
It's reasonable.
That's a good idea.
I also have an alternate idea. Now, shape water.
I love that movie.
You would.
Um,
Okay, and it's about fish.
Yay!
You would interpret how exactly you would interpret shape water. You instantaneously move or otherwise change the flow of the water as you direct up to 5 foot, and you choose an area of water that you can see within range and that fits within a 5-foot cube.
Yes. No arguments so far. Downside, no water.
I was going to say, what?
I
You
can
can
create
create
water.
My thought is, does the water have to be in a container, or can you water bend a bit of water above your hand or something?
Yeah, you could. You just have to have the water. So yes, you could. Yeah. I mean, let me actually look at it. I was doing shit.
Because I could use Sudden Arcanum to create or destroy water. So I could create
Because I'm
water.
thinking, get some water, create some water, potentially put some of the aether dust in the water, and then water bend it with shape water into anything that tries to hit us.
You don't have much force with this, and it would be essentially a concentration spell to hold water up in the air. But yeah, I would allow it. I don't know if it's necessarily what they intended with it. I think you're meant to just be able to go like shh on the ground.
Yeah.
But I think you should be able to lift water
Like,
with it.
I'll put it this way: I've had this cantrip for the entire campaign, and I've used it once.
Yeah, this is back when you were just a storm sorcerer. So what's your plan? Create water, lift water, profit? Like, what are you doing with the water? What's the water
Potentially, this is my way of moving the aether dust around into the creatures. Like,
You're
you put
making
the
a
aether dust
bubble of
in the
aether dust,
water.
and you're gonna like
So
Yeah,
splash it on
potentially-
people.
that sounds like
Yeah, whenever if one of them comes towards us, like push the water into it, so that hopefully it will take in some of the aether dust, get like there, and then we carry on, and potentially I can do that to others.
it sounds like a combination of passive and aggressive. The passive is like a cover with free smolders. The aggressive
Yeah,
is a
I-
Shal being aggro at people.
Potentially, Free Smolder's plan can get us through the entire thing with Azshala's backup with this aether dust water bending in case.
And Oshun is just like, why am I here?
Just crawling along the ground.
Try to not bump into anything with that booty.
With that, what?
With that booty, though.
Okay, so
Yes. Serious.
Free Smolder uses Sudden Arcanum in a preparation point, to cast Create or Destroy Water, and creates water
Swoosh.
that a shark can then bend,
Shape water,
put the
hold
dust
it
in,
in place.
hold it.
Put
Free
some
Smolder
aether
then
dust in
casts-
it.
Yep. Free Smolder then casts a boosted fog cloud, exactly enough to cover the start of the hall, and then it goes 80 feet total. And then just as we reach the end, cast another normal fog cloud, which is a 40-foot radius to cover the last bit of the hall, to then quickly go in, and if any of them get too close, we've got the ether dust in the water
Yeah.
Yeah.
cover us.
I have a question. Are you able, instead of like shooting it, are you able to hold it as a barrier around us? So if they
I
approach,
can't
they
re-
touch the barrier and go,
I can only
If you
affect
did
a
that, the
5 foot
barrier
cube.
would be so close to you, you would already
Yeah.
be exploding.
It's a 5 feet.
Especially
cube.
because
Yeah, I
you
have
are
to keep
bigger
it.
than that. The
Yeah.
level he can control with the spell. So it would be inside you, so you would already be exploding while that happened.
It's a decent form, but yeah, I kind of have to use it more on a active
that makes
basis.
You have to
than just
hold
keep
this
it
this
barrier.
drug bubble up
Yeah.
and control it.
And
That's
if you give
before, yeah.
Oshun a fistful so she can feel useful, she'll just go,
Huh?
Yeah, sure. I've got enough aether dust. You can have some aether dust in case it's
You can have a
necessary.
backup.
Okay. All right.
let's do this.
All right. That's the plan then. Okay. I'll spend the prep point. So I spend the prep point. Create or Destroy water. I create water.
No,
Okay,
water.
water.
Splash. Water. Drugs in water. Water bubble. Bent up like a swirling storm.
Pass,
This isn't...
big lady, moist fistful of water.
This is not Katara. This is This is if Katara was also a pirate. This is storm water. So
Yeah.
and
She
it's also
almost
drug
was.
water. Yeah, and she should have been. Then
All right. Level 2
fog cloud. Fill a large amount of chamber with white smoke and fog. And now
Let's
it's time
move.
to move.
Float.
Stealth checks with advantage.
The advantage is we are fools.
You came up with an idea.
It's a good idea. I
It's
like
a very
it. It's
good advantage.
creative.
It's a very good idea.
Yeah, because
I'm
my
proud of
idea most
myself.
of the yeah, I think most of the time like in game, like, okay, cool, enemies that explode themselves. Well, I hit one and it just chain reacts all the way down. But this is D&D. That can have consequences now.
Yep.
Yes!
That was basically the whole idea.
Did I not?
You have not clicked.
Hey.
Well, you are lucky because of all your tricks. I set the DC at 10, so you can slowly, carefully move through the chamber in the cover of fog up to the edge of the first fog cloud while carrying this bubble around. It doesn't seem like you're going to need it, but sometimes you do get quite close. You can feel the presence of these things. You can smell the oily hide of them, But there is a moment when you have to do the switch, because you can't have both fog clouds up at once. So that's when you're going to have to roll another stealth check as you
just flicker back into existence and all the eyes go.
Yeah, this one is going to be trickier. This one might be trouble.
The detection meter starts going up. Okay, so this is just a normal stealth check now.
Nope, still with advantage because you still are using your plan. It's just, it might be more stinky.
Okay, so we got just enough last time. If we get just enough this time...
40 feet away. We're 40 feet from victory.
Oh no, I'm
Good job,
consistent. I'm perfectly consistent.
You get across. You get to the other room. You look back. Ashal is still... Ashal has to pull the water with them. As they get close, one just sees them through the fog. The eyes... goes up close, and then it kind of pushes into the bubble, and you see its eyes like kind of shift from yellow to kind of pinkish purple, and it looks all around at the fog cloud, which is producing magic.
Oh no.
The aphid dust allows it to see magic. So it will then start drifting that way and just kind of bounce on the ground near where you made the fog cloud. It doesn't blow up. So
Did I just make
across.
a mine high?
Yes.
That was always part of the plan.
Yes, it was. I just love that.
That's how you got through the minefield. Drugs.
Yeah.
Just like we're back in Vietnam.
I feel like that should be a quote. Did I just make a mine high? Most out of context quote.
You are onto the other side of the chamber where you can very easily head to either the king's room, where you thought you might be able to find a way back to your realm, and also the matriarch's chamber, where the royal jelly is produced.
I can't believe that worked.
In all honesty, neither can I.
I shall just
Chances
nod.
seem slimmed.
High fives all around.
Ace is high.
Ace is high.
Ace is low.
Ace is low.
Anyway, I believe our best plan is to go to the matriarch's room first, and then towards the king's.
Indeed.
Agreed.
These rooms are grand. You can almost hear this sound that... It's kind of the sound you'd imagine stars make as the embers are being pulled into this area. And you can even sometimes see it through the glass tubes. The matriarch's chamber you get to, it has a degree of decoration of these dark stoneworks of these larger vestiges. They have like much more of the kind of like abdomens and stuff, kind of taking care of the young grubs. It's all sort of stonework, and yet you hear very little sound, and the kind of pitched door appears to be locked. You got through the minefield. Can you unlock a door?
Appears to be locked. I try to open it.
It's locked.
It was worth a try.
I will spend preparation point to do cobble together and make a lock. I'm assuming I can make like a lockpick that works for this kind of door. Because I'm assuming it's not just a simple key turn, it's probably like a more complex...
You could make something to give you advantage on a sleight of hand check to open the door. You couldn't make something to just open up the door instantly.
Yeah, so I'll spend prep point, advantage, sleight of hand...
You can make a lockpick rate and go...
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, +7.
Yep. You can massage the door lock with a particular tool, and it will click and grind open and open to a dark chamber with the slight scent of death within, but also the very strong scent of the royal jelly, which probably just smells like a very hormonal honey.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not necessarily unpleasant, You can step inside, immediately stepping over the corpse of one of these matriarchs. They are as they are in the artwork, although a little more grotesque than the statues make them out to be, because the exoskeletons of the vestiges are not really designed for expansion like they have.
It would be really cool if they were translucent.
The part where the exoskeletons are like glossy black, but where it like opens up because they've grown too much, it would have like translucent, kind of pale. Yeah. You pass over the corpse of one that clearly died not from a long shadow. They have just signs of being eaten away by time and microbacteria and stuff. You know, they have their eyes hollowed out. They just starve to death.
Fuck.
You go through, you see the one on the ground slumped up against. It's like you open a door and she goes, and it lets like this hollow noise because they are hollow. And you look around and there's a few of them, and it's a very comfortable room. It reminds you two a lot of like Cinnabel's chambers in Narashiro, and it's like comfortable like seatings and places for reclining and whatnot, where in normal circumstances this would be quite a comfy life, right? But the majority of them appear to be dead. There is one that is set up in a very hodgepodge apparatus. I say hodgepodge because it looks very similar to like the tools that Free Smolder makes, because it's not something that was really intended to be here. Their last attempt to get any little bit more jelly, the stuff that's still flowing, has one of these matriarchs hanging suspended from it in the ceiling by these platinum chains and ropes. There are elements of metal that actually forcibly open the glands on the side of their body that produce the jelly, and her eyes are hollow as well. She has also been eaten away at time, but there is still quite a large, rich amount of royal jelly that has kind of flowed from her into this ring-shaped trough. And then it would be against all the sort of reclining areas and everything as well. All the matriarchs are dead, but the jelly, royal jelly, does not spoil and is still flowing.
She puts a hand on Free Smolder's shoulder and just says, "I'm sorry, Free Smolder."
Apologies are not necessary. Time killed them. Not anything we could have done to stop them.
If only we'd been just half an hour faster, they would have made it.
Yeah, they starved to death in half an hour. That's, you know, that's when the DM really hates you. How dare you take a long rest in the castle?
I'm going to get a vessel of some kind. I don't know how much I'd need. Like I presume it up.
She would encourage the largest jar you have.
Fair, yeah.
And just a large amount of this kind of this royal jelly substance. Yeah, it is a bit like, I mean, yes, but
yeah, but like actually it's thick.
Do you want to do anything, Free Smolder?
Don't know.
The royal jelly is essential for the healthy maturation of young vestiges.
Okay. Do I have? I don't really have anything. Nah, my water skin's gone because I blew it up. So that's no longer a thing I have.
So thirsty.
Yeah. I do have my backpack. I could just, you know, that meme of the guy who filled his backpack with mayonnaise and then jumped back, and it just goes like out the top.
No, I don't know this, but I'm not surprised to hear you talk about this.
Mayonnaise backpack.
But I mean, this is an important thing. It kind of does make sense to use your backpack to slurp up as much stuff as possible.
Yeah. the noise. I put it in. I put it in.
I'm
the
not
Twitch chat
opening it now.
for everyone to
but,
see. It's only 13
yeah.
seconds. It's wonderful. Trust me, you'll enjoy it. But yeah, so I guess I'll whatever stuff I need to move or like put on like my belt and hang it in awkward places and everything.
You don't have that much stuff. I think it's probably fine for you to carry everything on your person and
just take off the backpack and just
seal it shut. Yeah.
yeah.
A healthy amount of royal jelly that might make do until at least a new matriarch can be made.
I did not expect the sound.
In time, there will be more matriarchs, but for now, we will have to scavenge what we can.
As a person who's into both child raising and death, would Oshun see or be able to like pick anything up or like see any other thing that might be useful or any other like
There was one
signs
larva
of
left.
life, larvae or anything
The larvae
like that?
didn't come up here. In fact, you actually see little plushes of larvae because the matriarchs don't see the larvae.
I
The,
knew it.
the people who tend to the creche take care of the larvae. The matriarchs produce the jelly. So they have like so to tend to their instincts. They have little. There's a little. So there is like a little kind of crocheted larvae. It's and the funny thing is, you know, free smolder, humanoid, larvae, bug. You know, just like a little teardrop thing. Maybe there's like the little bit of like hand nubs and then just eyes, and it would be like pale on top and dark on the bottom. So you could take that as like a symbol. But there's not really a lot of tools here, and the tools that are here have been put together quite... Actually, you would be able to recognize, because you understand that sometimes mothers and people going through transitional periods in their life, they need appropriate oils, unguents, minerals, things like that. And there would be a collection of them that would, you know,
got shea
being used to
butter.
treat. They got shea butter and, you know, similar things that would help a matriarch either
I
in
was
their
actually thinking
little transformation or...
if Oshun regularly used soap, she would use Dudu Osun, which is an African black soap. I just was like, Oshun would use Osun. Anyway, that just tickled me. Carry on.
Do you want to take this, the oils and unguents that we use to take care of the matriarchs?
I would point them out to Free Smolder and say, if there were any more matriarchs, then this would be necessary to care for them during their growth period, I imagine, to care for the skin as it expands.
It would aid them, but it is not necessary as such. If you wish to take it for yourself, you are free.
I was tempted, but I'm not sure what effect that would have on the body of something from a different dimension.
I do not know. I can only assume it would be fine to use.
Plus,
I've eaten
my
your food
stretch
and I'm
marks
fine.
have already occurred. But
I know nothing of childbirth and raising or the life of a matriarch. This is
Would
the
you-
closest I have been.
would it be something that you would be able to do for your species?
It is not the role I have been born for. Mine was to work in the forges, creating things out of
How does
necessity.
one become a matriarch?
They are simply born into the role and raised as such.
Could one cross roles in some way?
I suppose to some degree it could be possible, but whether it can be done as a species, I do not know. Perhaps something like that may need to be considered, considering the state of our kind.
I wonder if someone would be open to the idea of a voluntary service, a kind of volunteer basis of organ transplant in order to imbue one with the ability to procreate. Strictly ethically, you understand.
It would be strange and difficult for our people. We are built as a society upon strict roles and function. For one to change what they do is already a shift difficult to deal with. As you understand, I might fight long shadows and other beasts of that nature, but fighting was not my first call. It was only out of necessity that I took up arms. But perhaps then, having to do what is necessary, another would do the same, but in raising children and creating the jelly necessary for their growth, rather than fighting.
I know of one person who could perform some kind of procedure as this. If not, then we could learn.
Perhaps. Perhaps, as a species, we have grown stagnant because of how we are. There is much to think about.
It's possible. I only say because from what I've seen of your culture, it was rich and full of life. However, all things do die. So whereas there is part of me that is drawn to the sustaining of life, there is an equal part of me that accepts the death of all things. And if you ever need counsel on any of those topics, with what you or any of your kin decide to do with the state of things, I'd be happy to support you in anything that you choose to do.
I thank you. I feel that should our plan go well, and we deal with the danger to both my world and yours, perhaps there is a chance for a dialogue between our two worlds. An exchange on a larger scale than what we have accomplished.
I'll mention it to my wife, Cinnabelle. Is that a backpack full of jelly?
Yes. It is the most efficient way to carry it. I have no others. I use my water skin for, well, I planned to distract the long shadow, but it worked on the wolf wyvern just as well. I feel bringing it to my people, wherever the small pockets of them are, will provide hope for the future.
And you will be known as the jelly bringer. Bringer of the jelly.
Perhaps.
Why not
Title I
make
shall
it?
wear with honor.
Why not make it a bit more floral and call her Hope Bringer?
Because she's bringing jelly, Charles, you see? I'm sorry, I'm just teasing you, Charles.
Perhaps I should select a new name. We are being distracted by semantics. We should press on with our mission.
Yes, it was all very... When you come away from those who are living around you back into this room, it is sobering. Anyway, onward.
To the king's chambers.
Yes.
To the king. Okay.
You got any jelly,
Let's
Charles?
go.
As you head towards the king's chambers, you notice that it is not locked. In fact, the doorway hangs somewhat open.
Gonna cautiously open the door.
Yep.
As you do, you nary open it but an inch more, and a large lumbering thing leans in close. It is humanoid. It is made... the first thing you notice is a face, an upside-down exoskeletal face of a vestige.
Don't like it.
Then you see all the other parts made out of chitinous exoskeleton, making it this vaguely humanoid hulking thing that looms over Ashal as Ashal is the first one to open a door. Very clever, the squishiest one. And then takes a step back, revealing the rest of the king's chamber, which is not, strangely, it's not all that large. The king is a small, high-born vestige, probably much shorter than 4 foot tall, sitting on a throne appropriately sized. It's not a giant throne that he's dwarfed in, but the throne is connected to where a lot of these embers are coming in. And being a vestige, they have the kind of small, glossy, black features of their body, and they're holding on to, and like the kind of almost pale, chalky face. But it's also cracked and chipped with age, and he's clutching onto this big, almost glass flask of embers. While embers also flow into the chair. And they are wearing some garb, kind of these straggly silken strands. And the vestige king will speak vividly. The Guardian has no harmful intent to those that do not wish to harm myself. Enter. We clearly traveled far with intents I cannot know truly myself.
I will be frank, we did not expect to find you alive.
Alive, I remain.
Free Smolder's probably, when they enter the room and notice, like, holy shit, the king's alive. I'm assuming the immediate response as a lowborn is to kneel.
That would be like the logical response, but Free Smolder's gone a long way.
Yeah, I think Free Smolder would probably be in shock and would go to, and then when they started laughing like that is not really a vestige thing, is it? We're quite a somber people.
Yeah, you're like Russians.
It's like, yeah. Like, how would I address him? Would it just be my king? My liege?
Yeah, liege. I don't know, whatever.
Liege.
My liege, I am Free Smolder, lowborn, but I have traveled far in my quest to rid our species of the long shadows. These two are my companions, Ajal and Oshun. I met them in the overworld.
I knew that a lowborn had stepped out of the place given to them to rid ourselves of some of our threats. And if there were still many living, there would likely be celebrations. Even I can tell that there are far less shadows roaming these halls.
I have done my best. However, there are grave threats across the worlds that would affect us as well as my companions. Working together is our best hope.
Tell me of your intents. A kingdom may still hold a dying breath of aid.
And turn to the others.
Oshun is sus AF. And I want to like look at this creature. I want to look at him. I'm gonna squint with all 6 of my eyes. 8 eyes.
I was gonna say you have 8 eyes. Give me an insight
Just
roll.
two completely normal, like happy eyes.
Well, there are 2 big regular-ish eyes, and then many beady.
Many beady eyes. What?
Ooh.
This is the king of a kingdom that has been dead for nearly a decade. If this society is the way that you are starting to understand it, they do not have it within them to leave or rebuild. They have sat at the top of a crumbling castle in a crumbling kingdom for as long as possible, clutching to whatever can keep them going. They're clearly intelligent. They've made this guardian out of the corpses of other vestiges, which shows. But then you know, Free Smolder has also made it clear that there's not really a life or death morality. Like it's like they're dead. They're no longer functional. They also do seem addicted to whatever energies the embers are giving them, holding it so close to them, clutching it like one would a life support device.
We wish to return to the material realm, where we believe the source of the original calamity is, and hopefully we can end it there. If not, we can take out a lot more long shadows, or at least we can take them out on that side, not here. We were brought here against our will.
Few from your world would deliberately choose to visit our realm. It would be inconvenient, yes. There is one from your world in the mirror of this place that came and plundered and took and raised to feed its strength before this calamity struck us, even before. Yes, Free Smolder, much was kept hidden as the betentacled beast of cerebral power took what they could from us. It was suggested as a deal, for their creatures were violent and cruel, not like our kind, and their gentle service to the Shadow Realm.
Forgive me, my liege, if I am understanding you correctly. You struck a bargain with the being that ended up causing the destruction of this city?
Demands were made. Demands had to be accepted. We believed it would buy us more time, and in extremely rare circumstances, we are wrong. Perhaps that is why the Prince of Spiders gives me such a foul glare.
Adratask was a brain, as far as I am aware. I do not imagine that they were the one who came here.
They did what they could with whatever way they could travel through. Messages at first, emissaries at second. They often lost their connection, but they brought through hunters and bargainers and took objects of power from us to build his tools and claim his intentions. The calamity was not an expected result from either of our parts of this bargain. I do not believe it was. Bargains made in the long, lingering past no longer matter unless they are with our fine Empress, who will undoubtedly return and heal all those lost to us. She cannot have forgotten her chosen people. No.
Does the name Okshua mean anything to you?
No.
Good.
What about the other one?
No, it was Atratas he negotiated with. I am just glad that Okshua was not involved in the destruction, in the ransacking of a people. Although she was involved in bad enough things in Rangothurf.
There is a long history of travelers from your world entering this one, occasionally even as honored guests that would leave quite impressionable gifts. This Prince of Spiders has been in this hall before when I was but a prince myself.
Prince of Spiders. Is that a title that means anything to me? Because that sounds more like a drow title than an Ebimari.
He will point a gnarled, chipped exoskeleton finger at Ocean.
Yeah, thought as much.
Huh?
Yeah, he's been talking to you and about you in front of you.
I thought he just misgendered me. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yes, but...
Oshun will say, we should recover some of these artifacts and return them if we are to try and attempt to salvage anything for this city.
He will point to an alcove where there are some tools left. There is on a stand a blade that it's not quite Usurper Elven. It does appear to be made from an insect's chitin, but it's also on the end of a long silver strand. It's like a very large dagger. And there is also a kind of metal and glass flask that has more embers in it. All this kind of ornate decorated creation. If it is the destruction of Atratosk you intend, you may take back your weapon, Prince. I'm sure you will need it. And that gift. I forgive to say that I have no way to the realm of materials myself, for the last keystones to the portal below this chamber were sent with honored emissaries who were devoured by the wolf wyvern outside this city.
The wolf wyvern is dead.
Did you happen to find some small pearls of magic within its carcass?
Look
The
again.
others, because they're the ones who went.
Fucking gallbladders.
That seems to be our next... what we need to do then. Return from whence we came and check for corpse again. The floating eye
The
things,
floaters.
is there a safe way past them? Or a way that they can recognize us as non-hostile?
Yes, there is a password in the tongue of Void, the deepest speech that will allow them ignorance of your presence. The password of
There
Excellent.
is one thing that I cannot wrap my head around. You say Atratos came here with emissaries and made deals, yet also that he took and took as he pleased. Why did you allow him to do so?
It is not a surprise to this one. That one has difficulty understanding the specifics of the situation. For, of course, your brain was not designed to understand the affairs between kingdoms, but allow me to make it simple enough for a lowborn to understand. If we did not accept the terms of the deal, a different calamity would have taken place. The people of that realm devour the minds of others. Instead of dead on the streets, our minds would be in the gullet of some ungodly creature of flesh.
Ungodly.
Yet those would be creatures we could fight, creatures we could kill. Long shadows are immune to all except in the material world, where their source can be cut off. I am afraid, my liege, in your dealings you may have doomed us to a worse fate.
It's about to catch hands.
Long shadows were not a foreseen consequence on either side. What your king did was akin to paying off a protection racket.
Weakness.
I would not call it that. In desperate times, or against a foe far stronger than you, you sometimes take the smaller wounds to survive. That is what your people had to do, Free Smolder.
The people weren't given a choice. This one made that for them. Tell me, elucidate on what you mean by the Prince of Spiders.
You came through before. Some 1,000 spins of our globe. Tall as you were now, thinner.
Oh, rude.
A champion of peoples? Of spiders? Yes. More like us you were, undoubtedly, before the bloated, corpulent nature of your material world has caused this sufferance of your body. A fighter, determined to unite. Spider kin? Claimed that you were not too dissimilar to us. Perhaps, if you made good on your promise, you could have aided us against Atratos.
What happened?
You did not return. Your weapon lies on the mantle as a piece of sullen decoration.
I take it.
Yeah, you can feel magic. You can feel magic, and it's like it's magic that feels right with you. This is a large-sized magical dagger that has a long thread, so that when it's thrown, it returns.
Oh, magical dagger.
It's also a +1 dagger, so it has both. So, and it is large size, so it does d6. And it is made for someone of your size. It doesn't necessarily completely fit your hands because you have elf hands, but
Does my infant respond to anything?
The infant is just looking at the embers in the room because shinies.
It tries to like catch one and just hold its little fist and put it down.
Yeah.
Don't catch them. Tell me this last thing. How is it that your kingdom and your people have become desiccated and suffer, and yet you remain?
My people have waited long for the eyes of the Empress to return. A time longer than most realms have been born. But the Empress, with her new chosen, slumbers happily. But when she will awake, this time she will remember us. And if I remain, by the blessings of these ungodly embers, the Empress will see my dedication and rebirth all the souls that have been lost into the mud below.
And what did you do to remain?
These embers are the last remnants of life above, dragged down to its smallest parts as the rocks in the mountains become the sand in the desert. These embers are the smallest form that life and souls take, and by holding it, I grow, and I linger, and I remain. Take with your battle against Achatosk the flask of embers. It is linked to the very field above us that gives me a chance at the Empress's redemption.
I assume we'll turn to Free Smolder and say, kill him, Free Smolder. Take his place.
I would be careful about any such ideas next to the Guardian.
He is a monster.
He has
worm.
been driven mad by seclusion. I am not saying he is a
Mad.
good creation.
He sounds like himself.
He is a person who has been alone for 10 years.
Who chose this isolation? Who is so unmoving and unmalleable that they cannot even deign to set a foot upon the ground for their own people. A king, this is not. A parasite. It is.
It's all on Free Smolder, I suppose. You've got the Paragon Renegade choices on screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yes!
What will Free
Who will
Smolder
you
do?
choose?
Yeah.
The hot lady or the skeleton?
Hey, I've got a hot lady within me.
You know, that's a powerful argument. You know, that's
And necessarily siding with... You're not even siding with the king, you're just moving on, you know? You've got the stuff to move on, you just need to find more vestiges. It's not like there's more here.
You have allies, Free Smolder. You've altered your position in the world. You're capable of growth and change, which is what a society needs to survive.
He has inflicted his own punishment on himself. You can move on without killing him. There is no purpose to it. He does not have any hold over your people anymore.
There are still those who live. Parasites continue to suck until the carapace is bled dry.
Would I know if say there was a group of vestiges that came back to the city, would he have hold over them just by his social standing or by some like ability by being birthed as king?
It's likely that he has some kind of innate abilities because he is king, but it would be from the royal jelly, so they would be natural, but not necessarily enough to control people like at the gates or something. So partly, but like if you attack him now, expect spells to be slung. But is he enchanting the population? No, the population knew their place.
Yeah, that's. I was wondering if it's a case of social expectation or he did it.
Yeah, it's all social expectation and also, you know, being creatures of the fell, where it's like you got to do this because, like, if you didn't have the city, you would be out there where you can see in the windows bodies falling from the sky because the dead spawn out there essentially.
Like a video game, you're like in the wrong levels. You're like, hey!
Yep, it would be yes.
Bodies no clipping into the cell.
No clipping. One clips into a wall. It's like
Jarviskjir's back rooms.
It's funny because I was gonna describe if you were chased by the I was actually gonna describe one of the long shadows in this building being sort of stuck in a wall like that. You probably passed one where it's like it's just it can't get you because it's like the body in the real world is in a place where there is a wall in this world, so it's just like there's tentacles like glitched out in the wall.
Oh fuck!
Yeah.
All things have their time, and while he may cling to his unnaturally and undeservingly, we can rebuild away from where he sits. If the Empress ever does come back, then he can gladly have her. You've shown me things I never thought of. I have had thoughts and feelings I have never even considered possible before.
It's only natural.
Killing him would only waste our time and energy. I will let a husk lie in its coffin.
Well, if you ever change your mind.
You are no liege of mine anymore. And as a free vestige, I carry with me the essence of starting fresh and anew.
I'm so proud of you.
As a
Like Free Spilder like reach like a finger in and like scoop like a little like a bit of the royal jelly out.
Yep.
I am Hopebringer.
I'll flick the jelly off at him and turn around.
Do you want to take the Ember Flask as well as the second?
Oh, as Charles is grabbing it, even if
as Charles, like, everyone's leaving and as Charles is like...
Just one thing. It's like when someone storms off in an interview and like, I'm done with just very carefully takes off the...
Oh, we have to take over the... Yes, yes.
Like, I'm so sorry. It was like, and storms out.
The lingering king seems to give you no joy of a reply. I'm gonna send you a text. The text says, "A fuck you," but that's it.
Sliding into my DMs.
You leave, and realize that the way out of this realm is in the gullet or belly or some part of a digestive system of the wolf wyvern. Somewhere. It's a long tube. I know it well. So you're going to have to leave the castle. Go get it. Go do this again.
Fair enough. I mean, we've got the password for getting past the mines. We've got the.
It was Ashnas Grimpagle, wasn't it?
No.
We've got the way past the long shadow. We can get back there pretty easily, theoretically.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to punish you for it. I'm not going to punish you for Zoe's terrible roll earlier, other than the shame of, yes, you do have to backtrack this rolled badly. This was plot.
This is literally the video game where you miss like a chest
key
in a corner
item.
somewhere.
There's a key item that you need, and you've left it somewhere, and to look up the guide, and someone goes, "Oh no, you have to go loot the wyvern." You're like, "Why do I have to loot the wyvern? I want it." Oh. So you can slowly, probably in no particular rush, head back down, examining the Flask of Embers. It has 4 charges, regains 1d3 charges at dawn, at the end of a long rest, essentially, and each charge can be used as if it was a health potion.
Ooh.
So you chug it.
Is there a side effect? Are we going to become addicted to the glow?
Maybe.
Sorry, was it 1d3 recharges at a morning?
Is it 1d3 or 1d3 plus 1?
1d3 recharges each morning, but the potions are still 2d4 plus 2. They're regular potions, but there's 4 of them in there, essentially.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And right now that's on a Shal, but you could throw it between you in fights if necessary. And it is just this big, like, nicely made. It's like when someone makes like an iron tankard, but it's got like a cap on it, and when you open it up, it has all the embers inside, and are kind of more of a fluid than they are as like gas particles in the air. But you see them.
Kind of infinite health potion. That's pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm. You guys are level 8 now. You are gonna maybe encounter some okay items. And Ocean has a new knife.
Shiny dagger.
That returns
She's just
when
gonna be
thrown.
yo-yoing it around. Like,
And it would definitely make like a very satisfying noise when it's like strung out. I don't know what noise it would be, but it would be like slightly supernatural, like.
Sounds like not a flute, but you know when something catches the air and it's like.
Yeah, like when you do that that grass flute thing. And you have like a reed of grass.
Like when you blow over the top of like a glass kind of thing.
Oh yes, that
one. That's the noise.
Not the one that's like.
The glass is too big. No, too big.
Nope. Nope, we can't do it. But yes, that's absolutely the kind of thing it would make. And yeah, it does appear to have it's like this kind of, it's either made of chitin or bone, but it's sharpened to a brilliant point. It's the kind of thing where you do, cut yourself on it if you tap it, and does have some slight inscriptions as well.
Still sharp. I'm so proud of you, Free Smolder.
Thank you. You have both taught me much on my journey.
You've taught us much.
While this new path does concern and worry me, I have no fear that it will be met like every other challenge we have met along this way.
I was just thinking. No, I won't. It's fine. I'm just thinking about more schemes to keep the species going.
You can get Ivrith involved. Ivrith impregnated you. I mean, it's worth another shot.
Never get Ivrith involved in anything.
What's wrong with Ivrith?
I think Ashal's new life goal is to like remove Ivrith's influence from the mortal plane.
Let's start with Atratosk first, and then we'll step it up.
One powerful entity at a time.
If not straight up kill her, at least get rid of her influence.
I was just contemplating if there was a gland sac you could cut out of him.
Well, every vestige can reproduce. It's just that the babies need the jelly.
Ah.
So usually in the society, all you need to do is find a male. Done.
Not a dusty old fuck like the king.
No, he probably shooting blanks anyway.
Yeah.
So you can go back to
No,
the
it's
courtyard. Now that you're aware, probably one of you can cut into the belly of the wolf wyvern and find there are 3 dark pearls. They're kind of a dark purple, you know, as you would expect of the Shadow Realm. That
see, they were in the heart. They were in the heart. They weren't in the gallbladder.
he swallowed in a weird way, and it went right down into the heart. You know when you like choke on your drink? Way worse.
We're lucky that he ate them relatively recently, or it takes a while to digest. Otherwise, he could have thrown them up or shat them out somewhere out in the
And
wilderness.
you could have had to search,
Search the
for
entire
piles
realm.
of monster shit for what you needed.
I love this game.
Though luckily, you don't have to search through piles of monster shit, for you have your reward already. Covered in goo, you can return up towards the castle, to the chamber that he sort of aimed you towards. When you actually get towards it, there is a little sigil painted on the wall of danger. You know, there are all these sigils and paintings. So right on the doorway, before entering this area where there'll be more life pods like one you took before, it does have a little danger sign.
That ain't stopping us.
Okay. You step through. Down some stairways, you see a larger one of those life pods at the end of the chamber, which essentially looks like a metal cage with much more deliberate fixings. The metalwork is at strange angles. If it was a cage, because it was a cage, it would just be very basic. You don't put more effort than needed. The room is slightly ruined, and around the room are some servants of darkness. Large, chitinous creatures with many legs and large claws. There is one very large clawed entity and a smattering of young around, which you'll have to fight through. And then, once you go through, it's a direct link to the mirror, to the material plane. You will likely be either inside Atrotosk's chamber or near it. So, when you get going next week, it will be essentially a gauntlet towards the final battle.
Oh, Drea!
Drea might show up.
I hope Drea
I can imagine we're in the final battle of that.
Where's my large girlfriend?
Drea's small. Drea is not big.
Nah, Drea would be the one saying this.
Oh.
Unless she's too tsundere to say it aloud.
Yeah.
She says it with her eyes, her angry, angry eyes.
Her angsty eyes, as a good tsundere does. That's how you win the heart of an Ollie, at least. Anyway. Ugh.
Stab things.
Well, historically, yes. That's where we end off today, because we did start late, and considering you are about to start a fight, and then the next fight, which is the final fight, not really wise to do it now. Plus, it gives a bit more time to think through more of schemes and plans, because, yes, you are going to be thrown pretty much headfirst into the final fight, so you might want to have some ideas how you want to fight Atrotosk, the elder brain of Rangafuth, and its shadowy influence.
Eat him.
Yes, let's eat him.
It's going to take a few turns.
With a spoon.
Get a spoon, get that royal jelly, put a little bit of royal jelly on the brain.
A delicacy.
Delicacy. Well, that's all we have time for today. Before we go, we're going to talk a little bit about what you guys are working on. So why don't you start us off, Voice Quills?
Hey, I'm Voice Quills. I am guessing in this show, so I'm assuming potentially, depending if, because apparently there's a curse where all guest characters seem to die right at the end. So we'll see if Hopebringer is still around by the end. So yeah, otherwise, if you enjoy seeing me, you can check me out on the Saturday show, Rock of the North, where I play Peep Morgana, the Kobold Fighter, and potentially something else in the future. There has been not quite bargain struck, but the start of something interesting.
Peep nearly got an arranged marriage last week.
Could I just say Ollie has been holding out on the title of the person that Peep has made a deal with on me. You know how much how awesome that is to me, my obsession with dragons. Why did I not know about her in advance?
You never asked. You clearly haven't been hanging out with the wrong dragon crowd.
My crap.
But
So yeah,
could show up in the Monday game.
Don't
yes.
tempt Ian.
If you want to see more of me, then of course there's my YouTube channel where I keep shit posting away. We recently finally crawled across the line and got 1 million views on Well Just Fucking Kill Me Then. And also over 50k subs. So it got to like 900 and some, like 60 odd thousand, and then YouTube hit it with the age restriction, and it's crawled for weeks, but it's finally there.
Well done.
And there's been indeed victory, and there is a few. I can't talk about them just in case, because they're shush hidden projects and shit. But there's a few things that have been sent my way, and either if things go well or I am selected in auditions, you could be hearing me in some very, very cool projects in the future. So keep an eye out for that by following me on Twitter.
Nice.
So,
all right. Very exciting. Next up is Ian and Zoe. They're a pair.
It's Ian N apostrophe Zoe.
Ian and Zoe. Yeah. About the only thing I'm in it, other than this show, is every other Jarviskjir show ever, pretty much. Apart from the one on Saturday. But I'm in a lot of other Jarviskjir content, which a lot of it is available on backlogs on Ollie's YouTube channel or on Ollie's Patreon, where you should subscribe for $5 a month. You get access to a ton of stuff, including a game that we currently play on Mondays, that big things just happened on the Monday just gone. Some major changes. Yeah. So if you haven't already listened to that, you should. It was big. It was very powerful. And going forward, it is going to be interesting.
Change the game.
Changes. I am the Zoe of the Zoe and Ian, and I'm an illustrator and a writer. And right now I'm working on writing with Ollie for Arcanist Entertainment, which is tons of fun. We're working on some things, including a romance novel set in Jarviskjir in the city of Goldport, which is so much fun to write.
A city of bitchiness.
Yes. And I actually got a Twitter account. I never thought it would happen because Twitter scares me, but I like to stick to the art parts, which are really quite nice. So it's Janelle Scribble. It's at JONELLE Scribble.
Yeah, when I eventually make new overlays for this show, which will probably happen next time we get a new guest, I'll put it on here, but that's not happening anytime soon. So
there is good art comes recommended.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Then there's me. This show is supported by Patreon. If you like the content we make, you can support it by Patreon, and any amount helps. Any amount gets access to behind the scenes of art I'm doing, illustrations, pin-ups, character designs. Then there is, of course, the show for $5 or more. Any kind of extra bonus shows are at that kind of tier. And at the moment, we have this show, the Saturday show, Rock of the North, and also a Friday project where we're doing Pokemon as D&D monsters. completely converting them, illustrating them, all that kind of stuff. Check it out if you just want to kind of hang out. And, you know, during the other days, we sometimes do other stuff as well. Thanks a lot for coming by. It really helps me out. And I'm excited for this campaign to be grinding on forward. And
I saw the licky tongue illustration, and I cannot unsee it now.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. My mum doesn't like it. Yeah, just wait until you encounter one. And be glad that I didn't give it the rule I was gonna give it, where it could knock your armor off and make you naked. It would have been funny and fun. And that's what life's all about.
Cruel.
And cruel. Yes. Yes! That's what life's all about! To me, at least. Anyway, we're gonna say thank you to Patreon supporters, and then... go. See you next time. Bye!